There were Greek thinkers who could lock in for 8 hours straight without looking up once. Yet you have every productivity app, every focus technique, and every piece of advice available, and you still can't get through 20 minutes without checking your phone. The difference? One man was so focused that he didn't even realize Roman soldiers had broken into his city and eventually stood over him ready to kill him, and he looked up and said, "Don't disturb my focus." And those were his last words, and I'm going to break down who he was, his exact method, and how you can use it right now to focus for 8 hours straight, so easily that people will call you crazy. It was 287 BC when a boy was born in the city of Syracuse. His name was Archimedes, and from birth he had one thing nobody around him had, the ability to completely disappear into a problem. By 20 he was already solving mathematical puzzles that no one in the ancient world could touch, problems that wouldn't be solved again for another 1,000 years after his death. And by 40 the Roman army had surrounded the city with the most powerful military force in the world, and the only thing standing between Syracuse and total destruction was one man sitting alone designing weapons nobody had ever seen before. Catapults that launched builders with impossible precision, cranes that lifted Roman ships out of the water and flipped them over. One man holding off an entire army through pure focused thinking. The Roman general Marsilius said, "We are fighting a mathematical giant who uses our ships like tops to ladle water from the sea." This is where we get into his method. Archimedes said the reason most people can't focus for more than 20 minutes has nothing to do with their brain, it has to do with how they start. Most people sit down to study or work and immediately try to engage with the full size of the problem. 8 hours of material, a whole exam, an entire project, and the brain looks at the size of it and immediately looks for a way out. Phone, food, anything smaller. You called it the thread. Every problem, no matter how large, has one small thread hanging off it. One question you can actually answer, one section small enough to start, and the moment you pull that thread, something locks in. He said focus is not something you force, it is something your brain falls into once it has been tricked into starting. So his method was simple. Before every session he would ask, what is the smallest possible piece of this I can start right now? Not the whole problem, just one thread, and he would pull it. Within minutes the focus locked in automatically, and once locked in, held for hours without effort. Because the brain that has started cannot stop, it is physically uncomfortable to leave a problem half solved. That discomfort is the engine that drives the next hour and the one after that. And to put this in reality, I had my graduation exam coming up and the amount I needed to study felt completely impossible. Every time I sat down and looked at the full scope of it, my brain just shut down. I'd stare at it for 20 minutes, check my phone, tell myself I'd start properly tomorrow. This went on for weeks. The exam was getting closer, I was getting more behind, and the bigger the task got in my head, the less I could make myself start. Then the night before, nowhere left to hide, I did what Archimedes said. I stopped looking at the whole thing and just asked myself, what is the one smallest section I can actually start right now? I picked the smallest topic on the list, something I already knew, and I just pulled that thread. 20 minutes later, I was still going. An hour later, I hadn't looked at my phone once. 3 hours later, I had covered more ground than I had in the previous month. I passed the exam, it saved my entire school life, and I realized the focus had never been the problem. The start was the problem. My brain had been refusing to engage because I kept asking it to swallow the whole thing at once. Give it one thread, just one, small enough that refusing to start feels embarrassing. Pull it and watch what happens to the next 8 hours. And that's the Greek method to be so focused for 8 hours. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy, please subscribe so more people can see this. Peace.